Hit it. What's up, guys? We are back. It's Coach AB and Vince Gabriel here. Today, we're going to talk about how to get freedom as a gym owner. This is a huge one because I've tasted freedom in the past 2 years. So my story, I came from literally training out of my garage, 70 hours a week, one-on-one, one person at a time. And I remember thinking to myself, like, especially when someone would cancel, it would drive me nuts. But it was thinking to myself, like, if I broke my leg tomorrow, what's going to happen to my business? And this is when I thought, like, personal training is just a gig. I really need to find a business. This is not a business. And then I meet the guy on the other end of this, and here we are today. I have so much more freedom now. I'm barely working. So I think that's—
Who is that guy?
Yeah, some guy with headphones on the other end of this. But today we're going to be talking about a principle that we're living by in 2021, who, not how. And this is going to be an amazing way to give you freedom, because that's exactly what I did to get freedom. Like I said, now I'm barely working in my business, so it's actually nice. I'm working on it, not in it, which is wonderful.
Yeah, so who not how is probably the best business lesson I've learned in the last 15 years, and it's not anything new. But the concept is very simple. Success will hit a wall when you ask the question, how am I going to get this done? And success is multiplied when you ask the question, who can help me do this? And I think this is such an important topic for gym owners, because I feel like of all other industries, gym owners are like the notorious for, I can do it myself. No one else can do it as good as me.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, no one else can do it as good as me. There's so much of that in the fitness industry, and it causes this one thing that maybe a lot of us have experienced, and it's called burnout, right? And I believe burnout is the number one cause of failure in the gym industry. Right. I don't believe it's the pandemic. I don't believe it's lack of marketing. I don't believe it's, your trainers that you hired that stole your clients away. I believe it's burnout, because burnout causes bad decision making. Burnout will drive your culture into the ground. And if you're the one that's setting the tone of energy and culture for your business and you're burnt out, your business is going to take on that personality of a burnt out, bitter trainer. And here's the thing too. This is how burnout like occurs so quickly in gym ownership, right? Because I've been burnt out on a training side, AB. Like when I was training, and you probably know this, when I was training in San Diego, I was training 50, 60 hours a week. I was fried. I was burnt out. Right. But then I started my business, and then I was still doing the same thing, training 50, 60 hours a week, but I also had all the other stuff to do. Right. I had to market the business. I had to sell the business. I had to get out in the community. I had to do everything that the business needed on top of it. And that's when burnout occurs, when you overfunction as a business owner. And then your health starts to suffer, and then everything starts to get worse. So I believe the number one cause of that is asking the question, how am I going to get this done, versus who can help me do that?
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's such a great, simple concept. And like you hear it and you're like, it kind of makes sense. You just need to find the who to do these things. And I'm still learning this. You just recently taught us this, and I'm still learning it, but it's always in the back of my mind, like thinking like, okay, I got to stop trying. I'm so guilty of what you said. You said like number 2 before was doing things myself. Like no one can do it better than me. Let me just do it. I'll get it done faster. Let me just do it. And, now it's like who, not how. And I have your little card right over here. Vince sent us these little cards with all of the 7 principles that we're living by in 2021. And one of them is who, not how. So I'm constantly thinking about that because I'm so guilty of doing that. So I started a meal prep business again during the pandemic. And even with that, I go to pick up the food. Like, thank God I'm not cooking it anymore. I did that in 2014, but I'm not cooking the food at least this time. So I leverage other people to do that. But now, even still, like, I'm picking up the food from the place, I'm bringing it to the gym, I'm booking appointments to get the clients now. I'm like, why am I doing this? Who, not how?
It's a game changer. When I think about who not how, the best experience I had with who not how was when I launched this consulting business, and my dad had the stroke and I was out of the gym for like 2 months. And originally, when someone like is wants to go be with their family because of a tragedy, the question you ask yourself is, how am I going to be gone and support my family, right? And my gym still be successful.
Right.
And what I had been working on in the last 10 years was building the who's that were able to do that. So the who's were who is going to help me run my gym while I'm gone. And that's really was the kind of the first telltale sign for me of who not how. And I realized that the who's was the ticket to freedom.
Right.
Right. That was the who is the ticket to freedom, is relying on other people. Now, there are some businesses where you don't need any people and you can run, online type businesses and write an email a day and have a newsletter and it's all you. Yes, that is fine. But for us that own gyms, right? If we own a gym and that's your profession, and that's who I speak to is gym owners, and you own a gym and you want to have freedom, there's no way you're going to have freedom if you own a gym without relying on people.
Right.
And finding the right who's to help you grow your business. So that is really the most important thing, is you'll never have freedom of money, which is what a lot of us are after, right? We're here to create wealth, and we're doing this not just to help people, but we're also doing to make a living, right? But you'll never have freedom of money until you have freedom of time.
Yep.
That's like if you're listening to this, just write that down. You'll never have freedom of money unless you have freedom of time. Because when you have freedom of time, you have time to think, which is another one of our principles for this year, is paid to think, right? But when you have time, you make better decisions. When you have time, your health doesn't get run into the ground. When you have time, you're able to find the right people to help you do the job. So the first thing you need to do is give yourself time. Now, go ahead, AB. It's
Well,
good that we're on video because I can tell you're about to say something.
well, what I was gonna say actually, so let's say someone's listening to this right now, they're in the position that I was in, right? And now you had said you came across this when you had something happen in your family and you had to literally take a step away from your business. But
Yeah.
what happens if you didn't have to take a step away from your business? So now rewind, 3 years ago to when I was in my garage, and now I'm listening to this podcast. Okay, who, not how. So who's the first who I should hire to get out of, to build that freedom for myself? So who's the first who that someone should hire to build that freedom?
Yeah. So I think that there's really two people. One is originally there's the part-time admin person, right? There's a part-time, the scheduling and the billing and all the stuff that usually zaps the energy, right? And that's how you think. A lot of this comes back to that. What do you have the energy for? What do you have the energy to do? When I was starting out and I was doing that kind of stuff, man, it just drained me to the point where I was just like, oh, I was like, I asked my mom to help me when I was starting my business. Like, Mom, can you help me do some of this stuff? And she's like, sure, no problem, honey. I'll do anything for you. And so like my mom literally helped me with that. So I was lucky in the fact that, I had her to do that stuff. But yeah, I think that finding the things that are zapping your mind and zapping your energy, that you can hire someone for not a lot of money to do, right? So if your first hire is an admin person, as a trainer, and you pay them $12 an hour, it's not going to be a huge amount of money that you're going to pay, but what it will give you is a lot of time to that. The second one is a part-time trainer, right? That progresses to full-time because of the grind, right? And I like the admin first because in the beginning, you're the show. So you got to be on the floor in the very beginning as much as possible. So it's important because you're setting the foundation. But after that, then you got to find someone to cover. So for example, if you want to come to the SPF mastermind on a weekend and you have no one to train the clients when you're gone, then you can't leave. So you got to have someone that can help you from a training side. So I'd say the original one is the admin, but then a part-time trainer after that. But finding the things that you're getting bogged down by, that are zapping your energy, and finding the who, because and this is something I read very recently, and I used to have this somewhat, I would say, this egotistical mindset, and I used to think like people that were young didn't need to earn their stripes, and I'm not going to listen to anyone that's 22 years old. And I read something the other day that Dan Sullivan, the guy that came up with Who Not How, but also the guy that talked about something called unique ability. And unique ability is basically we all have this like God-given talent that we're best at, that we get energy from doing. Right. So I love to write. I love to record podcasts. Like when I'm doing those things, I'm kind of in my unique ability because I'm teaching, I'm communicating, and I enjoy it and I get energy from it. Right. But every person has their own unique ability, no matter what age they are. So even if someone doesn't have the experience that you have, they have a unique ability that you can learn from. And that's when you'll see really the higher people go up in success, the more they'll listen to people well beneath their level of success. The more they'll ask questions. So I have a buddy, Brent Gallagher. He's got probably one of the most successful gyms in the country, right? He asks me questions all the time. And I'm like, dude, what are you asking me for? Like, you're killing it. Like, what are you asking me for? All these questions. But he doesn't think like that. He doesn't think like that. He knows that there's always something to learn from, to draw from. But I think going back to full circle with this, all of this who not how concept must be the driver for freedom. And that is really what we're after, right? As business owners. And this is AB, this is a shame to me, is that someone gets into business for themselves and they never get to experience the fruit of what owning a business really does.
I think a lot of people, and I'm sorry, Vince, to cut you off, but I think a lot of people also, they get into this because they almost own a job and they think they own a business. And I think a lot of people get that confused. Like, just because you are self-employed, it's different from owning a business. A business is a system. And if you don't have a system, that's not a business, that's a job. That's very different, two different things. And if you want to get away from having a job and have a business, you have to put the systems in place to build a business. I didn't have a business before. I had a job, a well-paying job, but it was a job. And it wasn't until, like I said, I met the guy on the other end of that I was able to make a business out of it. Because I didn't think it was possible in personal training. And my system was broken because my delivery system was broken, I should say. And that was the tweak that I needed to make to change things and get more freedom. So maybe sometimes it's who, not how, in the sense of maybe not even hiring someone, but maybe having a mentor to give you that seed that you needed and give you the idea that you might have not implemented on your own and didn't think was a thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'll give a great example of the who, not how. It's the birth of the marketing agency that I own, right? So I am not, tech savvy, at all, and that, right?
I was
But
actually laughing today when you personally sent me the link for the podcast today to record. I was actually surprised. I said, "Oh, look at him learning how to
that I
send
knew
a
how to
Zoom
do it.
link."
But I realized that there were a lot of questions that people had in the mastermind about tech type stuff, about Google, about Facebook, about websites and analytics and all that stuff. And there was a lot of things I'm like getting these questions. I was like, honestly, I don't know if I know the answer to that stuff. It's like not really in my wheelhouse. And so we had a kid in the group named Will, who's now known as the tech nerd. And he starts like answering all these questions. And I'm like, holy cow, like this is actually really nice to have this kid in my mastermind. He's like doing the work for me. Right. And he's answering all these questions and he's like getting on calls. And he like, I had a call with him about his own gym. And he's like, yeah, I was on a call with all these gym owners the last week where I was on calls for like 8 hours last week. And it was like, I was like, this guy's like literally working for me for nothing. And he's paying me at this point. And so I'm like, okay, this is a need, right? The need. People need support. They need websites. They need digital marketing, more implementation than just coaching consulting. And so like, all right, I'm not going to start that business on my own, but I want to start the business because I know it fulfills a need for what my clients want. And so the who was the tech nerd, right? The who was the tech nerd. So another business was born. The business would not exist today if I said, how am I going to start a digital agency? How am I going to get this going? How am I going to do this? The question was just like, all right, who's out there that's going to help me grow this thing? And it was Will. It was the tech nerd, right? And now we have a full-fledged marketing agency. We just hired 2 people. We've grown like wildfire through a pandemic, and it's a business because of who, not how. Right. And so same thing. I'm launching right now a sports performance company, right? A whole new company for sports performance trading. And I'm hiring someone from the outside to come in. And I'm very close to pulling the trigger on hiring the person. And I'm thinking about, all right, do I really want to go back and start planning a whole nother business right now? Right? Help them with the name and help them with the marketing and help them with everything and the structure of the programs and all that. And I'm like, no, I don't have the time to be doing that. And so I was like, all right, who can help me do this? Who can help me get this guy trained the way he needs to? Well, I have one of my best friends is a guy named Brett Klicka, who owns Spider Fit. And Spider Fit is legit certification for youth coaches to teach them how to train. Brett and I worked together in San Diego. He taught me everything I knew about reaching out to coaches and reaching out to athletic directors and growing a sports performance business because he was my first boss. And I'm like, so I get on the phone with Brett. This is just yesterday. And I was like, this is the situation. I got this kid. I was like, can you be his mentor? And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, okay, now perfect. So now I find the kid. Now I find the mentor to the who that's going to mentor him. And now I will act as, obviously, a leadership coach and consultant to those 2. But the who, not how mentality, it just allows you to go places that you've never gone before way, way, way faster. And the who, not how concept has made me double down on my knowledge base for leadership, double down my knowledge base for hiring, for recognizing good talent, for recognizing skill sets that people have, and realizing that success is not going to come in the skill that I personally acquire, but the skill, the success, the exponential success and the freedom is going to come from my ability to come up with different business concepts and then identify the right talent to put those people in place. So it's exponentially, exponentially helpful for a business to grow if they think with this who, not how mindset versus the how am I going to get this done mindset.
Yeah, I love that too. And I'm the type of person, I always have all these crazy ideas too. Like, I want to start this, I want to do this. And I
Yeah.
think who, not how, you can, like you just did, exactly that is so important to have like that mindset when you go into things and look at things like, okay, who's going to do this? And if you have your business set up right and you're starting to make money, that's when you leverage your money to get time. And time is ultimately going to give you that freedom.
Yeah, and so like if you're watching this or you're listening to this and you're like struggling right now with freedom, right? You're working in your business too much. You're doing a lot of the sessions. You're just you're in it. You're in the thick of it all the time. The question you want to ask yourself is, who can help me get more freedom, right? And well, I know the joining the SPF Mastermind is that's like what we do is we help gym owners get more freedom. We help them essentially, and Sullivan talks about the four freedoms, right? There's freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationship, and freedom of purpose. Those are the four freedoms, right? And so the first one, the base, is freedom of time. So you're listening to this and you don't have freedom of time. If you're married to a job, if you're married to amount of sessions, if your business will not go a day without you, that is the first step, right? The first step is getting yourself some free time, and a lot of that's going to come in the form of who not how, right? And then once you have freedom of time, all right, that will give you the opportunity to have freedom of money, right? And when you have freedom of money, now you have freedom of relationship because you can invest in yourself. So when I started my consulting business and I got freedom of money, I now was able to invest in myself as a coach, and learn information marketing and learn how coaching consulting businesses are run. I was able to have those kinds of relationships. And at this point now, like, I'm able to fulfill a purpose. I'm able to run, have my gym run and have a consulting business that goes. I'm able to do work that really matters and work that I want to do versus work that you have to do. But that is really the key. The key is thinking about and asking the question, who can help me with this versus how am I going to get this done myself?
And I think that the results of it also compound over time too. So
Yeah.
as you can see with you, I mean, you guys are listening to this, but like you hear, Vince has a gym that runs without him. Who not how? Now he has a consulting company. So who not how? He has a business agency. Who not how? So it's like these things are all, now he's going to start a sports performance end of it. So who not how? And now he's running all these entities. He's kind of overseeing all these entities. So now his results of this are compounding into different things in his life, which will bring him more freedom, which is bizarre because now you have more things on your plate technically, but you'll get more freedom because now you have more pay time to think, like we said, and more money ultimately.
Yeah, no, and it's something that I've and again, this is somewhat of a newer concept for me. I haven't had all these businesses, or even the desire to have all these businesses. I was always in the mindset like, and that's why I didn't want to open up a second gym, because I was like, oh, it's just going to be a big headache. I don't want to have multiple businesses because it's going to be a big headache, and partnerships and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, um, that is how you can grow exponentially, when you're good at finding talent, when you're good at maintaining relationships, when you're good at just organizing a good structure of a business and understanding that's how it works. And then it does, because here's the thing, how does, there's entrepreneurs out there that have 40 companies. How is that possible?
Right.
Like, you think you have one gym and you're buried. How could someone else have 40 companies?
I know.
But it's possible. That's how you have to believe that is possible. And if you did open multiple gyms and multiple facilities, then maybe you need a structure of having some kind of what Zingerman's calls a managing partner, and you park one person in there that's tied to the compensation and tied to the success of that. But it's really comes down to your ability to maintain and create good relationships, right? That's really, at the end of the day, what this is about. Because you can find the who's, but you also got to be able to maintain the relationship,
Right.
and you have to learn about leadership. And that's where a lot of my education is starting to go. Obviously, I've been heavy on marketing, and I'll always be, that, but in exponential growth really comes from good leadership and talent development, and putting people in a really good system. So I mean, it's infinite to the amount of businesses that I can create, because I have the basic principles that the guiding principles that we created originally at GFA, and then we can take those same principles and just apply them to other businesses, that I'm excited about and that give me energy. So, but at the end of the day, stop asking the question, how am I going to get this done? Because that's going to stress you out and burn you out. And start asking yourself, who can help me do this? And you might think like there's also people like, oh, well, yeah, I could do that, but I don't have any money right now. Right. Well, maybe you need to get like creative, right? Maybe you have someone working for you right now that has a skill set that you don't even know they have. Kind of back to our last podcast where we talked about unused capacity, right? Maybe the who is right underneath your nose. Oh, here's another example. So when my mom, I talked about my mom a lot in this episode, but my mom, when she was in her former work life, was an HR person in New York City for a bond firm, right? That's what her job was. So she understands hiring. And we were in a situation where we were just completely swamped with the agency. And Will was just bogged down. We have all these new websites coming, and one of the people we had hired had to take a leave of absence because they had family members that were sick, right? And so now we're like, oh my God, we're like swamped right now. Well, who can help us make these hires? We need to make a hire. Who can help us? And it's like, oh, I don't have the time. Will doesn't have the time. So I called my mom, and I was like, hey, mom, you want to do a little part-time work for us? And she's like, sure. I was like, here's what I need. And we gave her the responsibility, and we hired somebody the other day. Right. So sometimes it's a matter of like, all right, how am I going to find it? Well, I can stay up till midnight doing this, or I can just find the who. She had nothing else going on. She's got nothing else to do. She was sitting home. So she like sat there with resumes all day and talked to people on the phone and got us, and we hired her, this week, the person. You know what I'm saying? So it's really looking to it's a mindset. That's what it is, and we're going to go over these mindset shifts. That there's 7 mindsets that we're talking about. They're all 3 words long that I'm using as my curriculum in 2021 for the SPF Mastermind. Uh, uh, Everyone. And Anthony, you can attest to this, but everyone has. I did a whole presentation on who, now, how, a 2-hour presentation at the last mastermind, and it was like dumb. Everyone was dumbfounded. Like, all right, how did I not think of this? How did I not know this? How have I not been using this? So it's a complete game changer if you ask yourself the question. I do recommend you read the book Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. But hey, all you really need is this podcast, and I just gave you the concept. Now just start asking the right question.
Yeah, and you have to, and then once you start, like now you guys heard about it. So maybe if this is the first time you heard about Who Not How, you'll start to see it in things all around you. So actually, I signed up a client the other day for our gym. He owns 143 salons over the country, 8,000
Wow.
employees, like a real legit business. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself as I'm signing her up and she's telling me her story or whatever, and I'm like, that's Who Not How. There's
Yeah.
no, especially if she's across the country, there's no way she's in, California. She goes, oh, I would go to California, oversee things, then I'd come back home. So just like Who Not How. 100. That's all Who Not How. 143, places. Imagine running 143 gyms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's Who
impossible.
Not
You
How.
can't.
Who Not How.
That's
So
amazing.
you'll start to see these things, and you'll start to pick up on those signs. And I think it's kind of great if you do find someone like that to start picking their brain and asking them, and I did ask her right away. I said, well, how are you managing all those places? She goes, I have excellent leadership people. Oh, Who Not How.
That dude, I would be talking to her like every day.
Yeah,
That,
she wants to do a joint venture with us too, because she has a couple locations near us. So it's gonna be a big relationship. But it's just exciting, just like it's cool to hear a concept. You listen to these things on these podcasts sometimes, and like, I don't know, whatever, Who Not How, okay. But then when you actually start to really think about it and you start to see it in your normal life, it's like, there's something to this. There's something to it.
yeah. So that's it. I mean, that's really, if you want freedom, which is what I believe everyone is after here, freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationship and purpose. If you want those things, then you probably got to start asking the who's, and really what you may need to start doing is trusting. And that's why I think holds a lot of guys back, is they don't want to trust. They don't trust. They've been burned in the past, and then, this trainer took a bunch of clients, and they don't trust anybody anymore. And you're never going to grow if you're not able to trust. And so,
Well, how does someone trust if they have, so let's say they were burned in the past or whatever. Let's just say that they just don't, that they have trouble trusting people. So how does someone overcome that? What's your advice to give someone listening to this who, maybe they were burned?
yeah, well, I mean, I guess that they just have to understand that if they can, and I do believe that, I always, in every situation, look in the mirror, right? I do believe that that's what people really need to do first, right? So you were burned, but why? What didn't you do that caused you to get burned? I know a lot of gym owners that have never had that happen, right? I've run a business for 13 years. We've had people leave. We've never had anyone leave and take anybody. So that could be your structure.
Yep, the systems. I was
Right?
exactly
Could
going
be
to
your
say it.
system.
The checks and
Could
balances.
be that you weren't a good boss.
Right.
Right? Because if you were a really good boss and someone, you added value to someone's life, I guess there are some bad people that would just do that. But in reality, maybe there were some things. So I think the first thing I would say is look in the mirror and ask yourself, what didn't you do that might have caused it? Or what did you do that might have caused it? And the second thing is really understand that, hey, if you're going to own a business, a brick and mortar service business, and you're not going to be able to trust anybody anymore, then you just bought yourself a job. And so if you're okay with that, then that's fine. But if you want to grow and you want to have freedom and you want to go have dinner with your family and you want to, have time to sit and read and think and that kind of stuff, like I teach our guys, then you're going to need to trust again. Right. And here's the thing. It's like, at the end of the day, it's possible that you might get burned again, but here's the thing. At least you're in the arena, right? At least you're playing the game. Like if you're gonna be a business owner, play a business owner game. Don't hide behind the protective mechanism of keeping everything under control, because then you're not in the arena. You're in the arena when you're running an operation and you're hiring people and you're employing people and you're growing. You're in the arena. And that's like, there's a great, you should kind of look this up, but you guys know I love Teddy Roosevelt now, but he's got a poem or paragraph called Man in the Arena. And it's really nice. It's really good. But, you got to play the game, right? You're not going to, you're going to just stay where you're at if you're not able to exponent. And again, maybe it's a different business then for you. Like if you want to really just be you, start an information marketing business like I'm doing, right? Because you don't need a lot of people to run these kinds of businesses. But if you want to have true freedom and be able to make money when you're not working, then you need to be able to have some trust to be able to bring some people on and get people to help you.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with just trusting people too is just having a solid core values, and that's a whole nother podcast
Yeah.
we can get into. But if you have your core values to what you believe and what you go by in the gym, it makes it cut and dry. It's like, do you live up to the standards? You don't live up to the standards. What we got to improve. If you don't improve, then sorry, you got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's a lot more I want to talk about in these podcasts about, different things about leadership and how to put the right people in the right seats and, all things like that. So we got lots more to come over the next several weeks of podcasts. And so I think we can put a bow on who, not how, but basically the premise of this is stop asking the question, how am I going to get this done? Start asking the question, who can help me get this done?
Right. Like Vince needed to improve this podcast. So he got the best host he could.
There you go.
Come on here and do it with him. So there you go. But guys, listen, look, who, not how for me was finding a business mentor. So it could be this, it has to be the same thing for some of you guys, because there's a lot of things that guy on the other end has taught me that has made me a lot of money and has given me a lot of freedom. So your opportunity to do that is coming up with our 6-week new client surge. It's a program that we do. What is it? It's twice a year. I forget.
Twice a year, yeah.
So it's twice a year, and it's starting up again. February 9th is the start date. So you can head on over to 6, the number 6, weekclientsurge.com and find out more information about that. And do you want to talk about that quick?
It's essentially a master's level degree in marketing.
In 6 weeks.
For in 6 weeks. So it's gonna teach you. It's not, the program. If you just need 75 leads right away, then it's not the program for you. If you're looking to develop a skill and an asset that allows you to make money for the rest of your life, then that's who I want to join me, because they're it's kind of the equivalent of, all right, I can either give you a fish or I can teach you how to fish. Right. And the 6 week new client surge is essentially teaching you how to fish. It's teaching you how to market your business, and not just your gym. All these principles that I teach can be applied to any other business as well. I've used these principles in my gym, but I've also used them in my coaching consulting. We're using them in our agency. So across all different businesses, the marketing principles don't change.
Right.
And here's the thing, in a basic nutshell, this is marketing. Marketing is market, message, media, as the great Dan Kennedy teaches, right? It's who you're going after. It's what are you saying to them? And it's what methods are you using to get the message out there, and what offers are you making? That's it. Don't overcomplicate marketing. That's really essentially what it is. And then obviously there's follow-up and pricing and things like that. But it's target market, it's what's your message, and then what are the media that you use to get it out there, and that's marketing in a nutshell. And obviously we'll take 6 weeks to unpack all that, but there's a lot we're going to do, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I just want to touch really quick, because you said methods. If you guys, I've learned this recently, methods, meaning like email, Facebook ads, all that stuff. If you're hammering one method way too much, all you're going to do is take one thing that you're doing for that method. So I was hammering my email list. I'm still hammering my email list, but sometimes you just need to show up different. So send some stuff in the mail every once in a while. I'm telling you, it's a total game changer. Just change your method of delivery of the same message and watch what happens. Amazing.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. And there's people that will maybe not answer an email, that will answer a text, or not answer a text and answer a private message on Facebook. So yeah, there's lots of different media out there that you can use.
Definitely. All right, guys, make sure you do all that cool stuff for us. So I want you guys you've got value out of today, a ton of value, a 5-star value. I want you to hit that subscribe button. Okay. And then I want you to go and leave us a 5-star review. I want you to leave us a review and let us know what you guys think of the podcast, what's going on, what you want us to change. And if you guys have a question, you could just ask one of us on Instagram. I'm at AB Fitness and Vince is at V Gabriel, right?
I think so. I don't really go on Instagram too much.
Well, I don't know. I use Instagram.
I think it's V Gabriel 71.
Vince is all complicated, but I'm just at AB Fitness. If you guys have a topic that you want us to cover, just send me a message then, and then I'll put in a word with the big guy over there, and we'll get it answered for you. But again, please leave us a 5-star review and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss this crazy amount of information that you guys just got in this jam-packed episode. So we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.